Tonight's episode of America's Hometown Horror is brought to you by our friends at Fangoria Magazine. That's right, the first name in Fright since 1979 is now an affiliate of America's Hometown Horror. And because of that, we can now offer you an exclusive 20% discount on any first-time magazine subscription or merchandise purchase by heading over to shop.fangoria.com and using the code HometownHorrorPod at checkout. That's shop.fangoria.com/HometownHorrorPod, or just use the code HometownHorrorPod at checkout for that exclusive discount on anything from Fangoria. Tonight's episode of America's Hometown Horror is also brought to you by our friends at Horror Facts Magazine. Never heard of Horror Facts Magazine? Well, if you're a horror fan, they're a name that you absolutely should know. You can find them over at horrorfacts.com, and they're a great resource for all things horror, including news, reviews, editorials, and lots of other horror podcasts, not only limited to, but including America's Hometown Horror. So head on over to horrorfacts.com and check them out. Now, let's get on with the show. Hello, good evening. Welcome into another episode of America's Hometown Horror. Thanks so much for checking back in with us. My name is Mike. I'll be hosting this evening along with my other co-hosts, who I will introduce here shortly. First and foremost, here's where you can find us online if you're interested in those sorts of things, I should say. First place is our website, which is ahpod.com. It's ahhpod.com. Head over there for our blog, find out more about the show. Listen to us directly, etc., etc. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Just search for America's Hometown Horror. You'll find us. You can also email us at hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com if you want to drop us a line. Or you can call us and leave us a voicemail, 508-927-1267. That's 508-927-1267. And, of course, the most important thing you can do for our show is to subscribe and leave us a review on whatever platform you listen on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whichever one you please. And of course, thanks as always to our friend Shano from Skywheel Media, who's now handling all of our audio and music production. If you have a podcast that you would like to get sounding as sterling as ours does, get in touch with us. We'll put you in touch with Shano and get you sounding like gold. Gold, Jerry. Gold. Jerry. Hot. All right. My co-hosts are all here, all back in studio, kid. Everyone's back in the house. No more of this remote bullshit. Matt, Andrew, Catherine, hello. Good evening.
Hello. What's up?
No snowstorms prevented us from getting together in person tonight. Which is awesome.
Rain or whatever
sort of weather event.
Wind, typhoon, storm.
Yeah, and that storm last week was stupid anyway. Barely got any snow. I'm not complaining, actually. It's kind of a good thing.
It was funny. I kept seeing people in Plymouth complaining that they were getting no snow as I was putting my boots on to go shovel my driveway for the third time. I was like, all right, well, if any of you fucking whiny assholes want to come fucking shovel my driveway, then.
Another snowstorm, and I got by without having a...
You don't have to shovel.
No, you don't.
No, without a snow brush for my car.
Oh my God, a snow brush. You just
I still haven't had a snow brush. And
we got like another 2 inches on Saturday, too.
And then just blow it, let it blow off on the highway.
Yeah.
No,
that's illegal. Can't do that.
Yeah, I know. Matt was telling me that. I don't care.
Yeah. Everyone in the world does that, you know.
And if you have a truck with ladder racks on it, you have an excuse. How am I supposed to clear that?
Give your phone numbers on the truck. Like you should be
that's
more
also
careful.
That's also an interesting point. Yeah, that's a good valid criticism.
Hi, I'm following you right now. Your truck is full of snow.
Dude, I see everybody's car is covered with snow. So nobody cares.
I went to the Dunkin' Donuts on Samoset Street the other day, and I did notice you're not allowed to take a left turn.
Yeah. You're not supposed to, but everybody does.
That's correct.
I took a right.
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like,
I haven't turned left out of there. Nope. I still won't. There could be nobody coming and I have like a PTSD stroke sitting there. I'm like, just go right.
Yeah.
I do that too. I think about it twice now.
Yep.
I still take a left turn, but
it's a dangerous. What the problem is that it's
4 lanes of traffic.
4 lanes of traffic, and also you have people that are in the left lane that jump over to the right lane because they're getting on the highway right there. So like you'll see, they're there, and then all of a sudden
people also fly around whoever's trying to turn into donkey.
Yeah, that's the other part that doesn't help.
44 is practically a highway.
I mean, it's 2 lanes. Yeah, it's essentially a highway.
Well, I mean, it's just people like drive on it.
It's 90 miles.
5
lanes. Turning into Mike's house, it's like people just bombing.
All right, good. Did we get all of the traffic and weather talk? 90% of the people that are listening have no fucking idea where it is or what it does. Yep, exactly.
You know that Dunkin' Donuts?
Dunkin' Donuts on Se7en Street.
How about that commercial with the Dunk Kings?
Oh my God, it was so embarrassing.
I thought that one was funny.
It was funny, but it was embarrassing at the same time.
Speaking of embarrassing, great way to segue. So a couple things here. So we, I think we talked about this in the last episode for the house that Jack built, but we're going to do a little bit of tweaking with the format in an effort to focus our conversations a little bit more, tighten it up on whatever, on whatever movie we're covering, or whatever topic, if we're doing a draft, something like that, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to do a bit shorter news stuff. And I think what we're going to be doing moving forward is compiling all of our watch list stuff into a weekly blog that we'll publish out, in an effort to put some more stuff up on our blog, which is always one of our goals, and in a way to kind of give people a more quality conversation about the movies that we're selecting at a particular point in time.
And also, they have to go to our blog now if they want to know what we watched.
Correct. Yeah. Driving people to the website.
I see what we're doing here.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep, absolutely. So, with that being said, I feel like we have to address the elephant in the room here, which would be the season finale and collective thoughts quickly, I would say, on the True Detective Night Country experience. We have all finished it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Like 2 sentences, 3 sentences?
Oh, it doesn't have to be a 3-sentence or a 2-sentence thing. I'm just, this is a conversation. We don't have to follow
it. It can just be this movie blows. I mean, this show blows.
Yeah, that's...
It is a bummer.
I definitely, I know we've been kind of sharing our thoughts with each other in our group text. I think it is borderline astonishing, astounding, whatever word. I'm flabbergasted with how strongly it started and how poorly it finished. I hated the finale like poison. I hated it. Like I wanted to beat it to death with a wiffle ball bat to die a slow, miserable death. It was awful.
It was poor.
Yeah, it was poor. Piss poor, dare I say. I'm just disappointed. And I think we all kind of collectively have similar thoughts, right?
Yeah, I don't think I ever really was into it because it just never felt like True Detective.
No.
Yeah.
It didn't. It wasn't. It isn't. I was going to say that it almost made another big mistake that a different movie made, Halloween 3, which we talk about all the time. Like if it had been aimed anything else but that, it would have been good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that wouldn't have mattered because it was still bad.
I
might have been a little bit not as bad, but
I would have had a different appreciation for it at least. At least I could have been like, all right, well, this is its own.
It would have been interesting. It would have been a lot more interesting, but it wasn't True Detective. It wasn't.
If it had just been called Night Country.
And it just tried to borrow so much stuff from the first season. Like it was like nonstop, like trying to
that felt to me like Issa Lopez came to HBO or like had this story in her mind, and HBO was going out to people being like, "Hey, give us a pitch on what you would do with True Detective." And she said, "Okay, well, I've been working on this story, and they said, "Okay, that's a great story. Can we like tie in some spirals and have some ham-fisted insertion of fucking lines from the first season?"
It was just like there's a lot of character stuff that was like just mimicking like Matthew McConaughey breaking down at the end of the first season and like his admittance to his dead kid. It's just like I was like, it's just fucking just ripping off the first season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In case people haven't seen the end of it, we shouldn't just
should
spoil
be like 2
anything.
weeks from that.
Yeah. I mean, we can. I mean, I don't know, but when a character in the finale uttered "time is a flat circle," I almost vomited on myself. It was just so, dude. It was like. It was so forced, and I saw it was telegraphed from a mile away that it was coming. It's just, I'm just really disappointed because I felt like it had a really strong premise, and I think for me, the biggest downfall of the whole season was that there just weren't really any likable characters.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people feel that the chemistry and acting of Jodie Foster and Callie Reese was a high point. I did not care for either of their characters. Pryor didn't really do it for me. Pryor's dad didn't really do much for me.
Which I saw his whole arc fucking from the first goddamn episode.
Yeah. The only character I really liked was that Kovic guy, the bar owner who Navarro kind of like slept with from time to time.
The Force Pod.
Yeah, the guy with the SpongeBob toothbrush. Force Pod.
He's kind of interesting.
Yeah, he was an interesting character. Yeah, and it's one of those things. Like this is definitely. It's one of those things where if you give a negative reaction to something like this, people will think you might have some sort of ulterior motive, which I can assure you is not the case here. I just did not care for the story. I also think there's a lot of people praising this for different reasons as well. That I like
that's
the people,
everything. That's
the people,
it is
the
now.
people that are out there basically saying that this is better than the first season. Like you need to have your critic card revoked. Like we were talking about the guy from Rolling
credit
Stone.
card?
Critic.
Oh. I was like, what a
Credit card.
Give me that.
Critic card. If I did say credit
You
card,
did
I
say
thought that's what
credit
you
card.
said.
I heard critic. I heard Jiminy Cricket.
Jiminy Cricket card. Yeah, but Alan Sepinwall, who's the main TV critic for Rolling Stone. Actually, I've read one of his books. He had a podcast for a while that I listened to. He's actually a really knowledgeable guy. He's written some good stuff like Breaking Bad and The Sopranos, history of TV. But he posted this big thing online today about how this was the best season of True Detective and the finale was the best episode of True Detective ever. To which I
him
say,
with
like,
a gun to his head.
like, dude, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
Was Navarro there with a gun to his head?
Yeah.
Maybe just beating the shit out of him and
Just
just saying
saying
fucking
fuck.
shit.
Yeah,
the whole
fucking
time.
shit. The worst dialogue I've ever seen.
Yeah, we swear a lot,
Oh,
as myself included.
this is like a 16-year-old wrote the dialogue. What the fuck? Bullshit. Fuck you,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
yeah.
Fuck shit.
Yeah,
Fuck.
It was like a Rob
Yeah.
Zombie movie.
cream pie. Fucking shit.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Green bar me again. And I'll tell you,
over here.
Nick Pizzolatto, the creator of the first 3 seasons, is not doing himself any favors right now because he's definitely like kind of taking a victory lap and kind of whining like a spoiled little bitch about the people's reactions to the show, the negative ones, and people saying it's good. So he's kind of been very critical of this season as a whole.
He was kind of a bitch when the second season got fucking
He was,
roasted,
yeah.
too.
He's definitely one of
He
those
kinda
like
seems like maybe just is a bitch.
he seems like he is a bitch, to be honest.
We just spell his name N-I-C.
That's also true.
Um,
That could be a choice.
bitchy
So does Nick
weird.
Cage.
No, I know. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
Nick
Yeah,
Cage
that's
does
true.
too, and he's cool.
Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Does he?
We like him. Yeah.
Nick
He's
Cage.
NIC?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
Nick. He's Well, when he doesn't go by Nicholas, it's Nick Cage, and I see.
Nicholas.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem with the show is it had way too many
It's like a
directions it was trying to do. It was almost like it was lost on the ice at night and had no idea which way to go. It just went.
The supernatural stuff I liked. It
But,
didn't
yeah.
fully go there. Like I knew it wouldn't.
confusing.
Yeah, they never really explained much of that, which I don't know. Maybe we can get into I don't even know if I want to go into a full
Maybe they'll be a
spoiler
part
thing.
of this.
Maybe they will be. Kat, what did you think of this?
I was kind of disappointed from the beginning and in the middle and in the end.
Yeah.
I think it was just really disappointing. And it's one of those things when you hear like a new season of True Detective, you're like, yes, yeah. And then you just like, you're so let down. You're so let down when it's not good.
That was good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you're excited, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Mike's always like,
Yeah.
Certainly.
it's
I
like
mean,
Christmas for Mike.
I mean, it's
like
really no
magical.
secret how, with how much esteem I hold True Detective as a whole, especially the first season. So yeah, it's really make me a happy camper to say how much I was disappointed with this season at all. I take no pleasure and no joy in this. It fucking sucked. That watching that finale last night, and I was basically like live texting you guys my reaction, which pretty much all of that,
Yeah, I
all
thought you were
of
gonna
that
call me.
deluge of just shit came out of my mouth just when the time is a flat circle line was uttered in that finale, and I lost it. I was like, this is fucking stupid.
I thought you were gonna be on the news.
No.
No, but you know who was on the news today? If we're going back to news, Mike's doppelganger for the for that case. He was on the news today.
Good stuff.
It's like a year and 11-month anniversary. 12 months.
The Anna
Yeah.
Walshy murder.
I don't think anyone.
guy?
Yep.
Yeah, the Mike doppelganger.
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's not,
I had
not
to
a
just
Mike
mention a little bit of
doppelganger.
news in the
It's not a
news
Mike
section,
doppelganger.
so
Yeah,
it wouldn't be a news section without the news.
That guy's a fucking slob, and there's one picture that kind of looks like me from one angle, and he's a fucking
We'll
murderer.
put it
son
on the
of a bitch.
blog and take a poll and see
We
what
will
people
not be
think.
doing any of those things.
No,
People
we
can
can't. We
find
can't
that on their
glorify
own.
him.
Just a
Yeah,
joke.
no, fuck that. Well, either way, certainly seems like there probably will be more True Detective guys because it was, a lot of people did like it, and it did have 3.2 million night one viewers. So the night of the finale, over 3 million people watched it, which is an all-time ratings high for the entire series.
Was it on right after the Super Bowl? Wait, when was
No,
it? That was
No,
Friday. That was
Friday. Yeah, so
the other day.
Yeah, the Friday before the Super Bowl, episode 5 dropped, and the finale the episode 6 dropped on its regular time slot on Sunday night, this past Sunday.
I still want to know why the reindeer ran off that mountain at the beginning of the show.
So it came in.
Did they even explain
It's
that?
one
Just-
of several
yeah.
things that doesn't get explained.
That was all I really
Yeah.
cared about.
I mean,
where the reindeer going?
There's still a lot of hinting at some
The
supernatural
polar bear
stuff.
and-
Yeah, the polar bear and the deer, and whatever cosmic force is
It's
out
the
there.
water.
Well, the water is caused.
We don't need
by
to keep
something
talking
else.
about
Yeah, we don't have to go this far into it. Maybe if people, maybe we can when we decompress and
The same way we're destroying the planet as people we drove the reindeer off the
Mhm.
cliff because
message
pollution.
They don't want to be here no more.
because
I'm actually glad. I was disappointed when it came out that this was only 6 episodes.
Oh.
And now I'm like, oh, thank God, it was only 6
Right.
episodes because that was enough. of that.
It honestly it felt. This is the last thing I'll say about it, and I honestly want to move on. It felt rushed
Mhm.
and slow at the same time.
Because it wasn't good.
Like it felt like they
Well, they're like,
wanted
wrap it up.
to.
Yeah.
They wanted to put a focus on character development, but the characters were not likable. And I feel like they spent so little time on the actual mystery, and at the end, what the payoff was for what actually happened was just so fucking dumb. It drove me insane. Like I was so disappointed in what actually happened.
No point having all that character development if everyone's going to turn out to still be a piece of shit at the end.
Yeah.
Like, there's no
Right.
point. They were all terrible humans.
I mean, it's not even, I just didn't I didn't connect with any of the characters like I have in past seasons. Like you can obviously I don't think it's debatable that, Marty and Rust in season 1 are flawed human beings, as are, Colin Farrell's character and Rachel McAdams' character in season 2,
Mhm.
and Mahershala Ali and Stephen Dorff's characters in season 3 are not good people. They just happen to be detectives.
That one had a really cool angle though too.
Yeah.
With Mahershala Ali having
Yeah.
Alzheimer's and trying to.
I thought that one was
That was
extremely.
good. I
I thought that
liked that
season
one.
was extremely underrated.
I like
10
that
times
one,
better
too.
than this fucking.
It's
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
the second best.
Yeah.
Also, and really, really final thing, for a show called True Detective, their detectiving was, it sucked. It was not very good
Do
detectiving.
you know who would be a better detective?
Anyone?
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo.
I don't know if we actually ever saw them arrest anybody, but we did see them
They just
kill
kill
people
everybody.
and then let other
Yeah.
people get away with killing them.
Well, no, Navarro arrested that guy in episode 1 that hit his
Oh, right.
girlfriend, and then she just beat the shit out of every other guy she came across
Literally,
the rest of the season,
Yeah.
and then they're killing people and
Force
yeah,
buying,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, exactly. Oh my god. So,
I mean, that's probably what would happen if you were stuck in an environment where it was dark every day. For,
yeah,
however long.
Force
Mm.
buy.
right.
Who knows?
So real quick, couple news items, things that I want to run through before we jump into tonight's film. Matt tagged me in this on Facebook, and I got me
I'm stoked.
all sorts of fucking juiced up. So, guys, EC Comics is relaunching Tales from the Crypt this summer,
Oh boy.
which is oh boy,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be rubbing lotion on myself all day then when this first episode drops. Obviously, so the Tales from the Crypt TV series was awesome back in the 90s. I do actually have a collection of the old comics in one volume. It's
What?
actually pretty awesome. Yeah, I'll show it to you before you leave. But yeah, they are relaunching it this summer, and they're I guess they're going to call it different things. It's but it's going to be under the Tales from the Crypt umbrella. First one's going to be called Epitaphs from the Abyss, and then Cruel Universe after that. So you got a nice. I'm looking at an article here on Bloody Disgusting, showing the very cool looking
fucking right, doggy.
new covers for everything here. So we
Look
got
at that. There you
one.
go. That looks like a worm.
Yeah, we got one that looks like some slasher stuff here
Oh, very
on the
nice.
first one,
Ooh,
and
nice.
then obviously this one definitely looks like a little cosmic wormy
Makes
stuff.
me think,
Oh,
here.
no.
that makes me think
Yeah.
of forced
No.
cream pies.
Forced cream pies. Today's episode of America's Hometown Horror is brought to you by Forced Cream Pies.
Forced
We've now
pies.
Forced Pies. We've now said 35,000 times.
Not to be confused with
Yeah.
oatmeal cream pies,
oatmeal
which are
cream pies.
delicious.
They're a delicious cookie snack.
Get pie.
Yeah.
We're just looking for
If
a
you
little
haven't
Debbie sponsorship is what we're
If you
looking
haven't seen True Detective Night Country, you probably have no idea what we're talking about, and you probably are better off, honestly. So anyway, yeah, Tales from the Crypt relaunching this summer. Pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably be checking that out at some point. So there's that. Stephen King also recently tweeted support for the still unreleased Salem's Lot movie. Pretty much being like, hey, I don't know what the deal is. Let me read the exact
Come
tweet
on.
here.
Pussies.
Let's see. This is we're recording this on the 20th of February. He tweeted this yesterday. Between you and me, Twitter, I've seen the new Salem's Lot, and it's quite good. Old school horror filmmaking, slow build, big payoff. Not sure why Warner Brothers is holding it back. Not like it's embarrassing or anything. Who knows? I just write the fucking things. So pretty much.
He's probably annoyed because most of his movies that suck all get released.
Right. Like, I don't know what Warner Brothers is doing. Like,
that's
it's
weird.
it's just fucking so weird. They did some weird stuff like this a while back. I think it might have been when they were turning HBO into Max, HBO Max into Max or whatever. But there was that Batgirl movie that was completely made and finished and done. And basically, to say, like, as a tax write-off, they decided to never release the movie and not even dump it on streaming. Because like Brendan Fraser was in the villain, and like it was
there was some copyright bullshit tied up with all that stuff.
Something dumb. But I don't know what's going on with Salem's Lot. We've talked about this on several occasions. I know we definitely want to see this movie released. So it appears that Stephen King wants it released as well. So hopefully we'll
dude's fucking
we'll get that. Yeah, fucking Salem's Lot's the best. So
I can understand like a movie like Batgirl, like taking the tax write-off for that, but Salem's Lot, like, come on, let's fucking.
Well, this Batgirl movie, so I think was supposed to have Michael Keaton returning as Batman too, which I think he also.
I don't
did in that
fucking
Flash
care about
movie.
these fucking universes.
So
fucking.
I don't know. All right,
last universe movie.
Last topic here for news stuff before we move along, Andrew. This got me. This is interesting stuff this week on news. This got me all geeked up. See this headline that Christopher Nolan in a recent interview said that he would love to make a horror movie if he quote finds a really exceptional idea.
Yeah.
Oh man, that would be.
Which leads me to Tortuga Takeover. Christopher Nolan. That would be great. Hans Zimmer with the score.
Hashtag Tortuga Takeover by Christopher Nolan. I mean, I think the movie that kind of is closest to that is probably Insomnia. That movie fucking rocks. It's awesome, and not enough people talk about it.
I watched that recently. It's
a really good one with Al Pacino and Robin Williams. Anytime Robin Williams is playing a villain,
Hilary Swank was really good too.
Hilary Swank, that's right.
And his partner, who he kills, is pretty good too.
Actually, Insomnia kind of had some similar vibes to True Detective Night Country, but did it better a little bit. You know, in the Night Country. And dude, you could have done a drinking game for how many times they actually said Night Country in True Detective Night Country, and you'd have been
or fuck.
Yeah,
I'm curious how many fucks were dropped.
Yeah, probably a lot. Actually,
in the first,
I think you can look that up.
10 minutes.
Oh
yeah, probably.
Look it up.
It was everywhere.
Let's see. So Nolan quote said, "Oppenheimer has elements of horror in it, definitely, as I think it's appropriate to the subject matter. I think horror films are very interesting because they depend on very cinematic devices. It really is about a visceral response to things, and so at some point, I'd love to make a horror film. But I think a really good horror film requires a really exceptional idea, and those are few and far between, so I haven't found a story that lends itself to that yet."
He annoys me.
He's very fucking hoity-toity.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
It's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Just
well, he's
either make
British,
the movie
right?
or don't.
He's British. Yep.
He's eating tea and scrumpets.
Yeah.
It's fucking
It's just like he's just always about I don't know. Something about him. I just don't like him.
Well, I mean, hey, horror films are all the rage nowadays. You got the Coen brothers talking about making a horror movie. You got
They've
Christopher
dabbled
Nolan
in before,
talking about it. Like, you know, it's people have kind of towed the line a little bit, but I would love to see these filmmakers just go balls to the wall, full fucking horror. No, you're right, dude. Cool. That's what I got for news, guys. Anyone else have anything newsworthy before we march along here?
Oh, these penguins continue on.
Excellent. All right. So why don't we pause for a quick 90-second break for a word from our sponsors? We'll be right back.
It's official. The critics' decision is in. Spooky World is spooktacular. Enter the new black hole. If you dare. Or the new horror House of Wax. This year, don't miss the real Jason, Bobby Pickett, or Alice Cooper. On the 24-hour Spooky World hotline. 508-838-0200. That's 508-838-0200. Spooky World is just west of Boston and haunts every night from October 1st till November 1st. If you had the nerve, you'd phone 508-838-0200. It's America's horror theme park. Spooky World. Sleepy Clovers!
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
The new face of evil is going to scare you to death. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. It's killer this year. Then be next door to the Abington Ale House. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. Eat, drink, and be scary. Go to bhmansion.com.
And we're back. Oh boy, do we have a great movie to talk about here tonight. I have been raring to talk about this for quite a while. Full disclosure, very early on in this podcast's life, we did attempt to do this movie one time before Matt was on the show, and I think it was one of those nights that usually the theme is if we end up at Red Tea Garden.
You can't blame tea for it.
Well, what happens at Red Tea Garden with, drinking
We make
and
our own
all
decisions.
that? Yes,
it's
of course.
not tea's fault.
It's not tea's fault. I'm not blaming
They
tea.
have
I'm
wonderful
blaming
Chinese
us.
food and qualities and drinks.
So anyway, we did attempt at one point, and I think we made it about 20 minutes into a recording. We all just looked at each other. We're like, "What are we even trying to do here? Like, this is fucking pointless." Yeah. So anyway, this is attempt number 2 to talk about the 1995 film from David Fincher called Se7en, which is one of my all-time favorites. Yeah, I absolutely love this movie, and I'm so psyched to talk about it. I feel like this is a perfect movie to kind of to pair with the movie we discussed last week, House of Jack Built. Some very similar themes, not quite as what's the word I'm looking for here? Not quite as heady as House the Jack Built.
Not really as brutal either.
No, not as brutal. But
brutal,
definitely it'd be a good double bill, double feature, if you will. So anyway, if you have somehow never heard of this film, I don't know what you're doing still listening right now, but thanks for doing that. Se7en, sometimes stylized as SE, the number 7, EN, is a 1995 film, American crime thriller film, I should say, directed by David Fincher and written by Jesus, if I can only fucking read, Andrew Kevin Walker. Stars Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow, R. Lee Ermey, John C. McGinley, and Kevin Spacey. Set in an unnamed, crime-ridden city, Se7en's narrative follows disenchanted, nearly retired detective William Somerset, played by Morgan Freeman, and his newly transferred partner, David Mills, played by Brad Pitt, as they try to stop a serial killer from executing a series of murders based on the 7 deadly sins. This is available to stream right now on HBO Max, or Max, I should say. I do own it. Probably watch it at least twice a year. So, guys, a lot to cover here for Se7en. I ask you, is this the high point for movies that have a number forcefully jammed into the middle of its title? The only other one that I could think of was like 13 Ghosts.
Or Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
They do that a lot.
Yeah,
those are really
do
good. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another Lucky Slevin. Do they do that in that too?
Lucky Number 11? I don't know if they do it in Lucky Number 11.
What?
That's a Josh Hartnett movie.
I'm like,
Right,
are you
I don't know.
speaking correctly? Like,
Yeah, Lucky
Slevin?
Number 11. Slevin with an L, yes.
I can't think of any other ones.
Yeah, it was more meant to be a joke. I think clearly that is the case. I think it is an interesting choice to label it as SE numero 7 EN.
Especially V, but it does. 7 looks like a V on its side.
It does.
Good job, Andrew.
Or actually more like a check mark. 7 on its side would look like a check mark.
I had no idea. I didn't
that
see
was-
it
I
until
was-
you just said that.
You're joking, right?
No.
Okay. I was like,
Clearly not joking. But seriously, so yeah, this is one of my favorite all-time movies, and I think one of my all-time favorite movies, but also depending on my mood, I think it's my favorite David Fincher film, which I do not take that lightly because he's made several masterpieces, in my opinion, between Zodiac, Fight Club, Social Network. I would consider Mindhunter in there.
This is my favorite.
I think it's this in Zodiac or neck and neck, but I think I mean, Zodiac's so good too, but I think my preference is for this. Fight Club's awesome.
Like this better.
I almost would.
Fight Club's a little too ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah.
I would say Zodiac's easier to rewatch than this movie because this movie relies a lot on the ends,
like the shock value.
Yeah,
I still think it holds
it's
up.
still very good. It feels like a graphic novel, which I don't know if it's intended, but just seems outlandish, a lot of it, which it obviously is.
Yeah, a lot of the actual murders themselves, which you see very little of. You're just seeing the aftermath of it, and it's still fucking brutal. Yeah, they're very, very artsy and very disturbing, and feel like ripped out of a graphic novel, like you're saying.
It almost feels like it's like they're trapped in a circle of hell in this movie.
Yeah, and obviously this I think the reason that this pairs well with House the Jack Built, obviously are the literary allusions in this between with Dante's Inferno, and then obviously Canterbury Tales and Paradise Lost and all that. So and that's they hit you over the head with that stuff because Morgan Freeman's character is this big brained detective who kind of, sees what the killer's trying to do and calls it, very early on, and not everyone believes him because he's this old crank, and it just escalates further and further.
The old crank.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, this movie, I think this movie, you think Zodiac is more rewatchable than this movie, Andrew?
Yeah, because it's different. Like this, it's I don't know.
Yeah, I still think this is a highly rewatchable movie.
It's rewatchable, but I think I prefer to rewatch Zodiac over this.
Yeah.
Because like I honestly, complete honesty, like when we rewatched this movie, I didn't even watch the last 10 minutes. I was like, I've seen this
a billion times. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't need to see this again.
This is definitely, I think the only thing that people might argue that it's not that rewatchable is just how bleak this movie actually is.
Yeah, because it just fucking ends.
Yeah, and it's just
like,
not,
I don't need to see that. I only need to see that so many times.
It does not paint a fond picture of the human experience. Pate's humanity as a whole is just apathetic, indifferent, and awful. Pretty much everybody.
This was the first time I sat and watched it from beginning to end in a while.
Yeah.
I always see like bits and pieces of it. But this is the first time I watched it, like sat down, watched the entire movie with 0 interruptions, no phone, and just like went through the whole thing. At least probably in like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
It still fucking rocks.
It's awesome.
There's a couple parts that still fucking get me every time. It's the lust is the fucking worst, dude.
Yeah.
That's super not okay.
Yep. And honestly, like I think this is a perfect example of showing less is more and showing, not telling. Like literally he is able to create so much tension and suspense and horror from just the aftermath of these crimes without even seeing, like, that's the difference. Like, so a movie like Saw, for example, right, which I think is clearly influenced by this movie a lot. And we talked about that when we did an episode on Saw way back in the day. They're very similar. Saw kind of hits you over the head with the gore, which I think is, obviously it's the first Saw movie is great. I think it's an interesting choice, but this movie, I feel like that is almost the reason that this isn't widely considered to be a horror movie. It's obviously mostly classified by people to be like a psychological crime thriller. I think this is a full-on horror movie. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
It feels like a horror movie from start to finish.
Yes.
Yeah, it's grimy as hell.
It's dark. It's just fucking morbid. It's terrible. It's
one of the to me, one of the scariest parts of the movie is when they do go into his apartment and they have the full search, and Morgan Freeman is sitting and reading his journals. And this is one of those parts I always miss because like I said, I haven't watched it front to back in a while. And he's sitting reading he's got like 2,000 of these journals full of just his thoughts. And he like has this story about how this like poor lonely dude tried to start a conversation with him on a train. And because he was just so disgusted by his simplicity of his mind, he throws up on him. And then without even realizing it, and then just laughs in the guy's face. And it's like, that's just like, that's what he's like detailing in his journal. And it's like, the way it's placed in the movie, it's right before the lust part.
Yeah.
And it's right after the sloth part. So you're in the, like, right in between two extremely fucked up scenes in the movie with that in the middle. And it's just, you're just like, you get a little quick taste of like this dude's daily thinking process.
Yeah.
That freaks me out. Cause it's like, man, like this is a fucking sick, just disgusting piece of shit person.
Yep.
It's I don't know. It's something about that like really fucked with me. I was like, damn, dude, what a fucking psycho.
Those notebooks, by the way, I remember reading that Fincher actually did have probably like a production assistant, like actually with that type of handwriting, physically write, because Morgan Freeman like flips through a couple notebooks and they are all written. So he actually had somebody sit there and physically write that out. That is not like a recreation. It's not CGI. Somebody actually had to sit there and write and like fill a composition notebook with that stuff.
Yeah.
So
I wonder what it says.
Right? I would love to know.
I would love
I would love to get my hand on one of those props and see what some of that stuff is in there.
Just says fuck shit.
Yeah, we're in the night country now.
Oh my god.
Followed up with one more.
Circle.
One more.
Yeah.
For screen pie? No.
Oh god. So yeah, I think this movie is a certified banger, as the kids would say. Kat, Andrew, what about you guys? Kat, you want to go first?
Yeah. I'll go first.
Go.
Yeah, I have my real weird thoughts there too. So you do.
No, I was gonna say actually one of these things. Mike reminded me when we just watched this last night. In grad school, I took this typography class. I forget what the name of it was, and they showed us this title sequence as an example of good typography.
Mhm.
And it's like that whole sequence is you can't stop watching it.
Like the title card.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like with like the different
It's
images
Nine
and
Inch
then the
Nails.
music, but it's
Mhm.
not like you know what song it is, but it doesn't even say
It's
till
all
the
like
very
chopped up and remixed. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's off one of the Nine Inch Nails remix albums. First collaboration, by the way, between Trent Reznor and David Fincher, of many. Because that's obviously in this, and then they also worked together on. I mean, I think he's done mostly every Fincher movie since then. Girl with Dragon Tattoo, The Social Network, Gone Girl. So David and he did Mank. I think he did the latest movie that came out this past year, The Killer. He did the music of that. Yeah, I think honestly, because we were talking about this when we watched the movie last night, Kat, like those opening credits are scary. That sets the
They're
tone for the
intense.
movie.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck am I getting myself
Yeah.
into here?
But
You
it's
know?
interesting too. And it's one of the things they show you as a designer because they're like, don't just sit there and write a paragraph of text and just stick it on a paper, like piece of paper. Like these had like, you'd have a word that was kind of like blurred out a little bit, but not blurred out. And then the different credits had like handwriting to kind of mimic the books. So there was a lot of like typography, like typed typography. Because then we go to the library, then there's more reference to that when they're like, when he's printing the pages with like the laser. I was like, oh my God, I remember those printers. But I like the music overall too. And the whole connection between
very dark.
it was like
operatic,
dark.
Yeah.
And then I loved the library scene when they
Put
on Bach and like he's just kind of digging into like all of these gross like novels and stuff. And you're just like, whoa, okay. Yeah. Like
It goes on for a while too. That song plays almost, I think, throughout almost to its entirety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like meanwhile, the security guards are just upstairs like hanging out, like
Playing poker.
Yeah. Pretty awesome.
But yeah, I always like that scene. But yeah, I've always liked this movie. I'd probably consider it a horror movie, but I can see how it can be like a crime thriller too. Just because of the fact that you said they don't show a lot of that gore. And people sometimes classify horror movies as gory and
Yeah, I think the sloth scene is what drives it into that horror realm. And
without
lust is that scene's. I'm gonna keep referencing it. It is fucking fucked up.
It's so fucked up. Yeah, it's honestly like I think, the sloth, the lust, and even the gluttony kill. Like the details of what he actually does to that guy are horrifying. Like it's so disturbing. But yeah, the lust one is awful, and then obviously, I mean, like that's what you see the most of is the sloth one, which is equal parts disgusting, repulsive, and just can't take your eyes off the screen the entire time. It's fucking nuts.
You also see though how like he thinks, and to the point where he's feeding this guy plastic from the floor. Because I remember I said to Mike, I was like, "Wait a minute, why are those like marks there, or whatever?" And he's like, "No, he's feeding him plastic on the floor, so
leaving clues."
So people actually figure out what the hell he's doing. I remember the first time that I kind of encountered this movie. So this came out in 95. I Googled it. This was released on Laserdisc and VHS in 96. So I would have been 9 or 10 years old at the time. My parents, this was obviously my dad's idea, rented this. And obviously, not as much information was readily available about the content of these movies back in the day because there's not as much internet. But this is definitely a my dad movie, and then a movie that my mom would run screaming away from. And somehow my dad got my mom to watch this movie. And I remember, like, I went to bed, and the next morning I woke up, and my mom, like, I was like sitting at the table having breakfast, and my mom, like, actually had a serious conversation with me, like, "Hey, we watched a movie last night that might have been the most disturbing movie I've ever seen in my entire life, and you should never watch it ever." It's called Se7en, and I was like, of course, immediately, like my interest was piqued. I was like, I need to find out what this fucking movie's about. I can't recall the first time that I saw it, but it was way too young.
I don't remember either. I was definitely young too.
So thanks, Ma. Thank you for starting my obsession with this movie. But I just think it's, I don't often like I don't say that a lot of movies are perfect. I think this one is perfect, if not very close to perfect. I think it's perfectly directed, written, perfectly cast, and probably one of the most shocking endings to a movie of all time. I do think, obviously, it's still effective, but when you know it's coming, it definitely, like, it makes you pick up on certain other things while rewatching the
yes.
movie, right? Which I think is a positive.
That's why I think it has good rewatch values. That there are things to kind of look for throughout.
Yeah.
There's a scene when they're driving in the car, and it's raining the entire movie.
Mhm.
And there's a scene where Brad Pitt's in the front seat, Morgan Freeman's in the back, and Brad Pitt is explaining about how he had to use his gun. And there's a scene when that happens, Morgan Freeman is seeing that Brad Pitt has this kind of like issue. And when that happens, the car goes by and there's like a glimpse of sunlight that like blinds the entire frame over Brad Pitt and into the frame. I've noticed this before, but I really like, I was like, I gotta see what he's talking about when this happens. And I think that has something to do with it, because then there's a scene with the photographer where he yells at him and Morgan Freeman's kind of like looking at him. And like, it's just this like foreshadowing of like knowing that Brad Pitt's going to act on his anger at some point in the movie. So,
and Morgan Freeman just sits there and doesn't really say much, just kind of lets it happen.
But it was like the sunlight coming through was like shining the light on, being like, he's the fucking key to this entire like puzzle box.
Do you guys think, Kat, Andrew, that this movie, knowing what the ending is going into it, does it pack as much of a punch for you guys?
Yeah, the movie's fucking awesome. Like the ending, knowing the ending, and seeing it again with knowing the ending.
Yep.
It's still that you realize how awesome that part is, but also how it's not really that big of a deal, because the movie itself is fantastic up until that point. So like you don't even need the ending; just brings it over the top.
I agree. Kat?
I think that when you know the ending, you look at characters a little bit differently when you watch it again. But there's nothing like the first time you watch a scary movie with this. Like you can never unsee that ever again.
Yep. Because I don't like this. So this is different than a movie like The Sixth Sense for me, which I feel like that movie once I've seen it, and most M. Night Shyamalan movies, like if I've seen it, I'm like, I don't really feel like I need to rewatch that. But David Fincher's on a different plane, in my opinion. And I think honestly, what makes this movie so rewatchable is the chemistry between Milton Somerset and Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt. Because, hey, True Detective Night Country, take fucking notes on this is how you develop two characters that are, diametrically opposed to each other from the start, how they come to like each other, grow closer, work well together, and there's a satisfying character arc, even though there's a horrible ending for one of them, if not both of them, I would say. But I mean, just the relationship between the two of them in this movie, it just evolves in such a way that I feel like it's awesome. It's truly something to behold.
It's more interesting too.
I do love Morgan Freeman's reaction when the guy drops the package off.
Yeah.
And he's like, California. He's like, stay away.
Stay away.
Like, John Doe has the upper hand.
John Doe has the upper hand.
It's one of the best lines.
It's unreal, dude. It's like, holy fuck. Because you're
great.
like, what's in that?
And what's in the bar?
Well, it's funny because like as fucking kind of corny as it is, like that's one thing to rewatch. Like his "What's in the box" line is like you kind of like laugh, but like you're like, what is in the box, dude?
Right.
Like I would have fucking loved to have saw this movie in like a packed movie theater for the first time.
Oh
Like,
my
the night
god,
it came out.
absolutely. I would have loved to have seen
It must have, that crowd must have been like, oh my god, dude.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of which, let's talk about Brad Pitt for a second here. I think it's intentional. Do you think that, because Brad Pitt, I think he's like overacting in certain parts of this movie. I think that's intentional to make us kind of seem almost like a meathead in certain ways.
Right.
I feel like the character's written that way
kind
with some of the stuff that he says. Yeah, like he's just kind of aggressive, like, almost kind of douchebag a little bit, but obviously, a much more positive outlook on things than Morgan Freeman. So yeah, I thought that was intentional as well.
Well, yeah, he's like hungry to like solve cases,
right? And like move himself up the chain and all that. So, speaking of which, by the way, so this is probably as good of a time to bring this up as ever. So Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman were not the first choices for these roles.
I feel like you've told me this before and I can't remember who it was.
So, okay.
Who was?
So let's talk about Somerset. So Morgan Freeman, I can't picture anybody else in that role besides him, right? So let's see. Somerset. The role was originally written for William Hurt, who turned it down.
Okay.
Who's that?
He would've been
Uh,
William
fine.
Hurt. I'm trying to think of
Google it.
what
Before
you
I
would know
William
him
hurt
from,
you.
Before I William hurt you. Role was also turned down by Al Pacino, Robert Duvall, and Gene Hackman. All said no.
Hackman would have been great.
Hackman would have been awesome. I think he would have been probably the best choice.
Pacino would have been way too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pacino would have overacted the
Whoa!
shit out of it. that was a great Al Pacino.
Do it again. Do it again.
No, I can't.
No, that was it.
Let it ride.
That was the one.
All right.
Yep. That was really.
It's surprising. Usually my impressions are, that was probably actually terrible. We'll listen back and be like, nah, that actually wasn't.
that was really good, Andrew. I'm not lying. That was actually pretty good.
It's
let's
always
see.
Serpico. That's where everyone goes.
Detective Mills, by the way, so obviously played by Brad Pitt. Role was turned down by Kevin Costner, Nick Cage, Nick with a C, Denzel Washington, and Sly Stallone. All said
Denzel
no.
Washington actually said this was his biggest regret. I
Yeah.
think I saw that.
He would have been awesome too.
As Somerset?
Sorry.
Mills?
Nope, sorry. I had him reversed. So okay, that was all Mills. So basically the Morgan
okay.
Freeman role written for William Hurt, Pacino, Duvall, Hackman all turned it down. The Brad Pitt role, Kevin Costner, Nick Cage, Denzel Washington, Sylvester Stallone all turned it down.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Wow.
Unbelievable. You have to remember too. So David Fincher, this is his first really big hit. He's coming off Alien 3.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Which he like almost left filmmaking or left directing at that point because he had such a negative experience directing that movie. Thankfully, he did not. But you know, he wasn't obviously the name that he is now. So all those people turned this down. The role of Tracy, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, Christina Applegate was offered the role. She said nope.
Yeah.
I thought Gwyneth Paltrow was perfect in that role.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
she was
phenomenal.
good.
She's
I'm not a
good.
big fan of hers, but she's good.
I like
in
her
this
in
movie.
Shallow Hal. She's good in that.
She has like the very like naive, like kind of babe in the woods like look and feel
Yeah.
to her in this movie. Like, you know, she feels genuine that she is very afraid of the world that she's in.
The scene with her and Morgan Freeman having the conversation in the pizza parlor or
That's
wherever the
right.
The
fuck they're
diner.
at. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that those are like genuine emotions. Like when he tells her, like, if you are gonna get rid of the baby, like never tell
Yeah.
David, but if you are gonna keep it, you have to spoil that kid. And right when he
Yeah.
says that, she like breaks down.
Mhm.
It's like that was like a very real
Yeah.
emotional response to that kind of conversation.
So John Doe, obviously, you know, Kevin Spacey, say what you will, okay? Not a great guy. Separate the work from the artist, I would say here, because this movie's still fucking great, and he is very good in it, despite not being the best guy. Certainly seems to be. This is the most interesting one to me. So the first choice for John Doe was Val Kilmer.
Man, these things always are like crazy.
You
to
know
me.
who would have been perfect in that role, but he wouldn't be the right age, is Paul Dano.
Paul Dano would have been a good one.
That's
Essentially what he was trying to do when he was the Riddler in
Yeah.
the Batman
Have
movies.
you ever seen the movie Taking Lives?
Oh, I love that movie.
That's Paul Dano.
I've not
Very
seen that.
similar to this
Angelina Jolie,
movie.
Actually,
And
very
Ethan Hawke,
attractive in that movie. I don't really find her attractive in general.
Yeah.
What was I going to say?
There's that one scene. Oh,
Val Kilmer, would have been an interesting choice for John Doe. I could probably see that. Also, Ned Beatty and Michael Stipe turned it down. Michael Stipe, the lead singer of REM. If you've ever seen him
he
before,
looks.
Nah, I
looks
can think about that.
John Doe.
Yeah.
Certainly
This guy?
looks John Doe. Yep, that's Michael Stipe.
Yeah.
So the guy who sings
Might as well
"Losing
just
My
been
Religion."
Jeff Bezos at that point. It's like,
Yeah,
dang,
kinda.
Like John Malkovich.
Yeah, so interesting stuff there.
That would have been.
Well, they were going for Bald Man with Bush.
John Malkovich would have been crazy,
Yeah.
dude. Just the way he
It
like,
might have been
delivers
too
lines.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, Malkovich is a very he's like Al Pacino, a very strong presence. Oh, I can't get over that. That was so good.
Yeah.
We gotta get you to do that.
They're
about to-
all
I was about to try
dancing
and
and fucking in this whirlwind circus.
This is also, I think, a movie that is great in terms of just a lot of actors in the background just being fantastic actors that you've seen in a million different
Yeah.
things. Like this is like in every scene, this guy, you're like, I know that guy from somewhere. I know him from somewhere. So obviously R. Lee Ermey from Full Metal Jacket, who plays the Milton Somerset's boss.
Oh, yeah.
He's awesome in this. One of my favorite lines in the entire movie is when Morgan Freeman is breaking down the first two murders and how they're connected. He's sitting there. The phone rings. He picks it up and he says, "This is not even my desk." And he slams it down. It fucking gets me every time. Like, absolutely love it.
I laughed at that last night.
This is not even my desk.
It's not even my desk.
So he's great in it.
Why bother
The
answering?
lead guy for the SWAT team.
He's the guy for the SWAT team, John C. McGinley. So
Yeah.
he's in like Scrubs, and he's in
Office Space.
But that
Platoon?
line that when he says, like, you deserve this or something.
Yeah,
to
you
the-
got what you deserved, you piece
And
of
then he
shit.
coughs
And
and
then
it's like,
the
Jesus
sloth guy
fucking
wakes
Christ.
up. That's an awesome scene. He's great. Reg E. Cathy, who plays the coroner with the gluttony guy.
You mean what's his name? Oh, not the coroner. I'm thinking of.
You're thinking of Crazy Joe Davola. Crazy Joe
that's
Davola
right.
is the doctor that
That's right.
declares all the victims dead. Yep, he's in it. He's another one of those guys. Reggie Cathy's been in a million things. He was in like House of Cards, so Fincher's reused him because Fincher did House of Cards too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he's
I
been in
didn't
a
know
bunch
that.
of shit.
Never watched
Like
that
he's
show.
one of those guys.
Oh,
Like
so
you,
good.
once you see him, you're like, I know exactly who that guy is. Richard Schiff, who played the defense lawyer, that weaselly defense lawyer for John Doe with
yeah.
the bow tie. He's in like second Jurassic Park movie. He's in like The West Wing, bunch
He
of
looks
stuff.
like he'd be in a Jurassic Park.
He's the guy that
He looks like a dinosaur.
in the Lost World. He gets ripped out of the vehicle, and the two T-Rexes rip him in half.
Yeah.
That's that guy.
They like toss him up and yeah.
That's the best one.
The undercover FBI agent who gets Mill from Somerset the reading list.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
That's he's in Batman Begins. He's also Bobby Elvis in Sons of Anarchy, which a lot of people know him from that.
I like that scene a lot.
Yeah.
And I like his whole like explanation of like how it all works and stuff. I thought it was
Yeah.
because in that time, like that
wasn't
was
a
also
thing,
new.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so
Pre 9/11 too feels like very
Dude,
like
get
yeah.
like the Cliff Notes books. I was like, damn.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah,
Kat commented on that too because she was
Yep.
like, "Oh, Cliff's Notes."
Of course,
I was
Cat
like,
commented.
Yes.
She's like, Cat GPT. What's up?
Oh, yeah.
Cliff Notes. That was the.
Leland Orser, who is the guy that committed the Lust killing. Fantastic in this. He's in a bunch of shit as well, but I feel like that he sells that so
Oh my
well.
god, that scene is like
Mm.
just
Cringe.
the way he like
So
explains
stammering,
the situation.
yeah.
He's just stuttering and in shock and like
So he,
Oh,
I think
awful.
he either put himself in like a walk-in freezer before he actually filmed that scene, so that his body down, so he could get like the shivering and like the stuttering down and like
Oh,
actually
wow.
be shaking. So that was all intentional, done by him.
Well, that whole like scene is so fucking chaotic too, because it's like you kind of go from one thing, and the next thing you know, they're like walking into this like nightclub. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And you get to him, and he's got this like fucking like harness on him,
Yeah.
and he's just like, get that fucking thing off me.
Yeah,
They're
it's
like,
awful.
what the
What a, like,
fuck is
horrible
going
thing
on,
to be
dude?
put through. It's
Like they can't
mhm.
shut the music off. Like it's so loud.
Yeah.
Like it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, dude.
My God. Yeah,
That's intense scene.
terrible. Yeah, that's one of the ones I was like glad. Like I don't want to see anything except for the one photo I saw.
You see her
that
leg
was
like
enough.
bent
Yeah.
backwards, like in the
Right?
background.
Like,
You're like,
oh God,
whoa,
yeah, I
dude.
didn't even want to think about it. Same scene, different actor. Michael Massey. A lot of people might not know him. Tragic story. He is the guy that was acting opposite Brandon Lee
In the Crow.
in The Crow and fired the prop gun that was filled with real ammo and killed Bruce Lee's son.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah,
I was just gonna
Alec
say
Baldwin.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
He might be in trouble again now. Like I feel like
No,
they-
he still is in trouble
still
for
is
that.
in
Yeah.
trouble for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I thought he was like cleared. And stuff.
No, he got indicted.
Again, like recently, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so I mean,
Sucks.
this is just like one of those. This is like a Fincher movie. This is like, you know, he has that obviously in a lot of his other movies as well. But there's just like everybody in every scene. There's somebody that you're like, wow, this is like a really like this is them giving an awesome performance in like the 2.5 minutes that they're on screen. It like makes it memorable, which I think is just another thing that makes it great. Also, since you brought up Crazy Joe Davola, when he walks into the gluttony scene at the beginning when they're sitting there and like he introduces himself to Brad Pitt and he says, "Oh, wonderful, very moody." I laugh at that every time too. It's always a good one. Oh God. Let's see. Where was I? Here, guys. Can you name the 7 deadly sins?
yes.
I was gonna say, do you want me to get real weird for a little bit with my weird theory now that I've seen this movie for? Because it involves that.
Okay, go for it.
So since we watched The House that Jack Built, I immediately started getting into like looking into all the 7 deadly sins and stuff. Which brings me, when I started watching this movie, I had that in the back of my mind.
Which, by the way, sorry to interrupt. Gluttony, greed, sloth, lust, pride, envy, wrath, and if you're an Orthodox Christian, despair is considered the 8th deadly sin. But I digress. Andrew, go ahead.
So it's going to sound weird, but obviously we know that Brad Pitt's character is Wrath.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point of the fucking movie. He's become Wrath. But I also think that Somerset is Wrath and that he is actually the guide for Mills into hell to serve his sentence, because in the fifth circle, which is Wrath, because they're both technically Wrath. So I looked up the fifth sin, which is fifth circle of hell, is for Wrath, and it's either those who become easily or violently angered, and also those who were sullen or moody and grumpy in life.
Oh,
And they're both the same. And it's essentially like he's been there for a longer time, so he's showing him the ropes. And he's like, he's not ready for this, because when they're essentially living in hell, everything that's happening around them is fucking hell.
Right.
And also the number 5, which is the fifth circle, is very common with Mills. So his wife, the teacher, she teaches 5th grade. There was also, I just left the page that I had pulled up.
Cheater.
In the room, when they're interviewing John Doe and he's drinking his tea in the tea bag, the room is 5. It's number 5.
Okay.
Wow, interesting.
There was,
So there's
there was
deeper
something
meanings
else
to-
with 5 and him in the number 5. The police chief's office number is 705. He's first name David, 5 letters, Mills, 5 letters. There's a lot of 5 in there, which I thought was interesting, because I went into it and then I looked it up and I found one article from like 2017 where the person had this. I was like, the number 5 in the movie 7. There's like one article and I was like, all right, I'm not the only fucking weirdo that thought it, but that was it. There was nothing else.
Interesting.
I was like, that's interesting. So that's my theory, is that he's showing Mills like he's welcome. He's like Virgil to Dante.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's an interesting way of looking at it. I can actually.
That's why I brought up
see
that whole car scene when the light comes through and shines over him as he's like explaining having to like use his gun before, and then he can't even remember the name of the guy that died. It's like it's just his anger clouds all of his thought.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So, and it's just that light coming through is just being like, ding, ding, ding. Like, this is who that guy is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And also for those type of people in the fifth circle of hell, they are destined to fight on the river Styx, which is basically the river Styx divides hell from earth. So he's basically fighting. He's like almost fighting people from going to hell, which is weird. And then fucking Somerset's characters in the fifth circle of hell is basically just like stuck in the mud.
So on your way down to hell, you just have to have these angry dudes.
Yeah, just angry dudes trying to win. He's just getting in
first.
fights with a bunch of angry dudes, and that's pretty much what he's going through the whole movie. Is just getting his ass kicked by it.
Yeah, he does get walloped with like a fucking tire iron.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the chase scene between.
It's intense, dude.
Yeah.
That's an insane. That was one thing I actually noted too. Is like, wow, like that is a long, drawn out scene. But it is like he is fucking hustling with this dude for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And actually, so I remember when we watched and talked about Malignant on this show. Malignant has a lot of stuff they pull from Seven as well. There's an awesome chase scene in Malignant that's very reminiscent of this chase scene.
Oh, it's funny too because like that person runs so
right.
weird.
Yeah, it's so fucking weird. But I was talking to Kat about this last night. But during that chase, Brad Pitt was actually doing all of his own stunts, and he actually slipped and smashed his hand through a windshield. So that injury was actually worked into the screenplay, but everything was not filmed sequentially. So there's actually parts like earlier on in the movie where they're hiding Brad Pitt's hand under like a jacket or like a bigger like a larger sleeve on his shirt to hide the cast, because he actually did like David Fincher has gone on record saying basically he remembered like Pitt showing him the cut like after the accident. And he could see like bone. He could see bone in Brad Pitt's hand, and like he had to get stitches. And he said that was probably the most disgusting thing he's ever seen. On set.
The other thing too is like when that scene happens, when he gets hit in the head and he like falls in the puddle, he loses his gun, and John Doe puts the gun against his head.
Yeah,
it's like that's full blown defeat. Like not that he doesn't kill him, but it's like he might as fucking well, dude.
Yeah.
Like he beat you. Like that's the thing. It's like he
didn't kill you because he had a lot worse for you.
Yeah, he beat you.
Yeah. The way Brad Pitt says no, like that it's a perfect encapsulation of just like, okay, like I'm fucked here. Like my life is in your hands. Like, please, please don't kill me. Like that is just, it's unbelievable. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. I know what I was going to say. Speaking of the chase scene and the constant rain in this city, has there ever been like a scarier version of a city portrayed in any movie ever? It just looks like it would be an absolute fucking hellhole to fucking live in.
Maniac.
Yeah. Whoa. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah. Actually, that's a.
I mean, we're assuming this is New York.
So
I
we were talking
always
about
thought
that
it was
last
New
night.
York.
Yeah.
But so we were thinking. I always thought it was New York as well.
But then
There
I said, I was like, well, then they drive out to the desert,
Maybe
which
it's
is not
Babylon.
in New York.
Could be
So it
L.A.
could be LA.
So
LA.
I think it's
a good point.
unnamed,
I thought
obviously
about
for a
that too.
reason.
Could it be
Yeah.
Vegas? No, because it's definitely not Vegas.
That's
It's
I
yeah.
think basically it's an amalgamation of a bunch of
It's
different
hell.
stuff. Yeah,
It's almost like a Sin City kind of vibe.
very
yeah.
much so.
Right?
Yeah,
graphic novel.
very graphic novel. Yep,
Yeah, yeah.
Andrew called that earlier. But
It's funny you brought that up because I did think about that last night. I was like, where the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
where
'cause
did
that's
true.
they
The
go?
desert, there is no-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah.
Right?
yeah, I think
Never
it's
think about that.
I think it's a combination of L.A. and New York for sure, because you don't get that much rain in L.A., but you
Right.
also don't have the desert in New York City
Right.
either. Like or
And you have
desert.
desert with that much rain?
I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah, that's why I think it's just supposed to be, obviously ambiguous for a reason.
Did I say the other number 5 where it's on the chalkboard when he writes it?
Oh no,
It's
no, that one you didn't
It's
mention.
number 5 on the board.
Okay. All
That was
right.
like the main one, and I forgot
Keep,
that one.
keep
I was
going
like,
with the 5 references.
There's a lot of 5, But you would think I like 7 because my cat's name's 7, but I actually like 5.
Tonight's
I just-
episode of America's Hometown Horrors brought to you by the number 5 and the word forced green pie.
And Al Pacino, whoa, no,
Whoa.
Hey, nope, that one was not as good. Should have just
It's got a great ass.
great ass. Whoa,
Oh, my
screaming
God.
into the microphone. I know I'm normally not
Sorry,
loud enough,
Shano.
Shano.
That's all right. So this was the first collaboration between David Fincher and Andrew Kevin Walker, who they worked again together on The Killer, which came out this past year on Netflix.
Oh,
which,
I still haven't seen that. That's another
obviously-
one.
excuse me,
You're excused.
not as good as 7. Obviously, still a good movie though. I enjoyed it.
What was the other movie he just wrote recently too?
So I have him having writing credits on Event Horizon, 8mm, Sleepy Hollow, the Johnny Depp Tim Burton movie. He also wrote the 2010 Wolfman movie with Benicio del
Another
Toro.
underrated movie.
Let me see
We
if
have
I can
something
find
coming
out
up.
what else Andrew Kevin Walker has written. There might
Dude,
be
guys writes
more.
bangers.
Mhm.
bang,
See,
bang,
he
bang,
wrote
bang.
Windfall in 2022. Nerdland in 2016. Never heard of that. Windfall.
That's because that's about you, Mike.
See what you did there. Windfall. Yeah, I never heard of that. That does look interesting, though.
That's what Jesse.
Jesse Plemons in
Plemons,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons in it. Let's see. Yeah, so he's actually, obviously this is a very dark and demented script. He apparently was inspired by his time living in New York City when he wrote this. He said, I didn't like my time in New York. Well, that's clearly obvious there, Andrew Kevin Walker. But it's true that if I hadn't lived there, I probably wouldn't have written 7. So I think the New York references are pretty valid there.
It's funny, like when you think about what a person writes for a character, that's their thoughts just given a vehicle to express them. So it's like, dude, this guy fucking hated living in New York.
Yeah.
Really hated it.
Yeah.
He's like, if I had my way,
Yeah.
I'll show them.
Oh God. Let's see. Is there anything about this movie that you guys didn't like? Anything? If you had to like pick at any nits in this movie?
there's no nits. to
No,
the
not
kids.
really.
So okay, I had a couple questions. Not even nitpicks, really, just like questions, right? So does that taxi driver just like drive John Doe to the police station covered in blood, like no questions asked? Or do you think that John
It's a
Doe
fair.
has him at
It's a
gunpoint?
city, bro.
Like, what do you think
Yeah,
it
It's
is?
fair.
Yeah, it's true. It's fair. That's
Just
that one. That
Yeah.
one.
They used to drive.
They're just so
fucking-
dull to it. That's just like they're used to it.
Taxi drivers
true.
used to drive. What's his face? Richard Ramirez, fucking covered in blood back to the Cecil.
That's very true. That's fucking so fucked up. But yeah, I mean, one of the biggest themes of the movie is apathy and just, an indifference to the terrible things that are happening around people. I mean, Morgan Freeman kind of encapsulates it perfectly when he's talking about in rape prevention classes, they teach women not to yell help because nobody comes to help. They teach them to yell fire
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
that's
that's
people,
fucking wild.
so fucking nuts.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's like a
Oh
real
no,
thing.
I mean that's
No, it is.
that's wild. about
That's
it.
what's depressing is that a lot of this stuff in the movie, like obviously not
real.
it's real. It's like actual stuff. If John Doe had been planning these murders for a year at least, right, or years,
Yeah,
as
right.
indicated by the sloth kill, right? Because there are
Mhm.
pictures from day 1 to day 365. They arrive at that crime scene 1 year after he was first tied to that bed. How would he know that Mills was going to be transferred to that city? Or did he just choose to insert Mills into this plan when he found out who Mills was?
He chose to insert him after he.
You think?
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think
agree.
that's probably the more.
It's too.
likely one.
It would be too much.
Yeah.
For him to have him already drawn into it otherwise.
Okay.
Like Morgan
Fair.
Freeman says that cops get paid for information and stuff, but like that would be a tall order
Yeah.
to plant him there.
Okay.
And for him to know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just thinking out loud here, this type of stuff. But, I just get curious about here. Let's see, what else? And then I also, this is a perfect movie until you realize that John Doe, in addition to killing Mills' pregnant wife and cutting off her head, he also killed all 3 of those puppies, probably too, in that apartment, which is just sad. All 3 of those puppers.
Never.
No, it's not that. I was thinking about the unborn child.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. That's why I said,
Yeah.
in addition to the unborn child and cutting off his wife's head, those puppies probably did
and
not meet a happy ending
his
either.
face, like
Yeah,
when
but
he's
dogs.
like says that, he's like he didn't
Oh,
know.
he didn't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's
Ugh,
like,
God.
oh my
Gross.
god, I'm like, oh my
Fucking-
god.
Yeah.
That's I love the lead into that when he's basically telling him he's like if you go, he'll show you where the 2 other bodies are, and they're like, we only got 1 person.
Yeah,
missing.
his
And you're
like
ooh,
selling
that little
it.
like buy into that like
Yeah.
His selling it is
Fucked.
wild. With him just being like, people are not going to be able to comprehend, but they won't deny.
Mhm.
It's like
he's like
Yeah.
playing on
Mean,
he's like
dude.
playing on Mills or Brad Pitt's like ego in that
yeah.
situation.
Well,
He's like, you're gonna be famous for this, and he's like, yeah, I will be.
Well,
He's
you
like,
see him
"Oh,
getting
yeah,
him
yeah."
fired up too,
Brad
and
Pitt
like
calls him a fucking t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
it's like,
and Morgan Freeman just keeps flashing him glances, just like, dude, like you really are this fucking guy.
yeah.
Like
right?
he's like,
And he
when
could have stopped him at any point in time.
he's like, when you're looking at gun mags, fucking jerking off in a fucking your own shit,
Yeah.
like it's just like, and he gives him like a glance. It's just like, dude, like fucking, why are you even bothering getting this guy fired up?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Freeman says to Brad Pitt's character early in the movie, it's lazy and dangerous to dismiss him as crazy. He's clearly
Mhm.
not. Like he's clearly highly intelligent and deadly, and like you
Mhm.
need to like take this.
He's manipulating.
That's about as
Yeah.
much pushback as he gives Mills' character the entire movie. So
That he has that other line too. He's like, it's impressive to see a man feed his emotions.
yeah. Yep.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah. No. Say whatever you want.
I feel like Morgan Freeman should have seen the end coming.
Maybe he did.
He was definitely blindsided.
When he said John Doe has the upper hand, it's not like you knew what was going on. It's like,
Right,
I knew
yeah.
this was coming. John
Well,
Doe.
he knew something was up,
Yeah.
but it's like they needed to make sure that he wasn't gonna they needed to get a confession.
Yeah.
And if he's telling him there's 2 more bodies,
Right.
let's go get him.
Yep.
The last thing he thought was going to be like, why would he know who Mills is and that he has a pregnant wife? And
Mhm.
But in the same sense, if Andrew just said, all that stuff about the number 5 and like how Mills would fit that profile and how Morgan Freeman spent hours and hours in the library, wouldn't he have read something similar?
maybe, but that's a Andrew theory.
That's a me, like outside of the movie theory, not the guy that's in the movie.
No, you said
That's actually living it. Like he would know if he's
the people that are in the 5th circle of hell.
Yeah, so he
So if he read
maybe he
that-
know maybe so yeah, Somerset already knows if that's the
Uh.
general theory. Because a
But
lot of things happen that like because of movie, but also
Right.
because of that's the case. They all know what's gonna happen. They're doing their part in their 5th because they're all playing the same role over and over again because they're in hell, so they have to redo it.
I think that would be my one nitpick would be like, I feel like Morgan Freeman would have seen or felt or like would have stopped.
He
the
should have
end
done
from
something.
happening.
He didn't do shit.
Yeah.
I
I
didn't
think
do
I
shit.
think he would have figured that out before it happened. Not necessarily the entire thing, but something. He would have been like,
Mike, what
no.
do you think? Because you've seen this movie a fucking shitload of
A
times.
billion.
I mean, I just think the more and more, Andrew, like listening to your theory, I think like, Somerset says that he is not without sin. He is not, an unflawed character. I think that he rails so hard against like the apathy and the horrible things that he sees in the world. But I mean, he kind of lets Mills destroy his life and kill the guy.
He's
at the very
extremely
end.
apathetic.
Right? So it's ironic. I mean, and also in a similar vein,
doesn't fucking care.
I don't really
Yeah,
know.
Yeah, because he's like, I'm done with this. I'm
Like,
done.
what's he
I don't
supposed
care.
to do there? Is he going to like shoot Mills in the leg or something, or try and subdue him, or is he also just content with, hey, John Doe's a piece of shit. I'm going to leave it up to you if you want to destroy the rest of your life and kill this guy.
I think he
Right.
tries to very calmly and like subtly be like,
Right.
listen, Mills, like that's what he does. He's like, you know,
Yeah.
don't do this. Like,
Right?
I
trying
feel like
to
he
just.
kind of goaded Mills into this whole thing.
I don't think so. I think he does try to talk as much sense into him as he can, but I think he just knows that there's no use.
Yeah,
That's kind of the whole, like I've said, like the glances. He's constantly
Yeah.
like just understanding that this is just who this dude is.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna just.
I also think
he's just talking to him to find out why.
I also think in that moment too, when that's like unfolding in front of him, like he's probably thinking to himself, like, what have I allowed to happen here? Like, what have I allowed to, like, he is absolutely going to kill this guy. There's nothing that I can do about it. Like, I should have probably done more to help him curtail his emotions if he's going to be doing this job.
Yeah, and at any point, could his meeting with Mills's wife been spotted, been noticed, been photographed?
That's a very interesting angle that I've never considered before, and that absolutely could be the case.
Yeah, so that could be the catalyst of that whole situation.
Yeah, he's
So
like kind of blackmailed into it.
Somerset's fault, maybe, because he led John Doe directly to Brad Pitt's wife. Oh, that's a
damn! Now you're gonna watch it again.
Right? Well,
take a look in the background and
You'll
see
have,
fucking who's sitting at that diner.
You'll have no objection from me. I'm watching this movie again.
Someone would have picked up on that by now, right?
Maybe, but it's just maybe you didn't find the article that said it.
Maybe it doesn't even need to be. Maybe it's just.
Maybe it's that obvious and we're all dumbass.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's the only time she's out in public.
Yeah. She doesn't leave. She doesn't like the city.
Quick question for you guys. Does it need or would you watch a sequel to this movie?
No.
Well,
I mean, I would, but no.
Yeah, there can't be a sequel.
Absolutely not needed.
8.
So
7, 8, 9.
Guess what?
The number 7.
In 2002, they almost made a sequel that would have been called 8. EI numeral 8 HT. Yikes. Ugh. All right. So.
But they didn't.
So
obviously.
No. Here's what happened. So New Line Cinema basically opted to grab a script that they deemed similar enough to 7 that they would retool it into a sequel. Sounds very similar, probably, to what HBO did with True Detective Night Country. And said, wait, we can make this. We can make this True Detective here. So the script was originally called Solace and was written by Ted Griffin. The story concerned a detective with psychic powers trying to stop a serial killer who's also psychic. And those thinking that sounds nothing like 7 are absolutely correct.
I like that movie. Is that the movie with Anthony Hopkins? And Ryan.
Yes, it is.
Colin
Farrell. So basically, for whatever reason, New Line wanted to shoehorn Morgan Freeman's Detective Somerset into the hero role. Brad Pitt was not going to be involved, and David Fincher also made it known that he wanted nothing to do with this movie. They basically opted to scrap that idea and turned it into a 2015 film starring Anthony Hopkins and Colin Farrell. Critics and audiences both hated it. And what did you say it was called, Andrew?
The Right.
Solace?
Solace.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Solace.
I was thinking of the other one, Fractured. That's the one with Anthony Hopkins and Ryan Gosling. I think that movie's pretty good.
Yeah. So this one is Anthony Hopkins and Colin Farrell. So
that one's not very good.
Yeah, that would have been a horrendous idea that I'm glad that they did not do. Let's see what else. All right, you guys want to hear a little bit more about some of the other stuff that came out in 1995?
I do.
Spoiler alert.
Toy Story?
Not a great year for horror. Not a great year. The first movie that I found is a movie called Blood and Donuts. Apparently it's a Canadian horror film. Love donuts. Love bloody horror movies.
Love Canadians.
Yeah, love Canadians. Very nice people. Hey.
Great
Have not seen that movie.
Hey.
We also got Andrew. We got Candyman 2: Farewell to the Flesh.
I've never seen that.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's no Hellraiser 2.
Okay, fair.
True.
Let's see. We also got a movie called Castle Freak in 1995, which is
I do like
Castle
Freak. I do like Castle Freak.
Sure is. I feel like every time we record a podcast and we go through whatever particular year that we're in, there's always a fucking Children of the Corn movie. And in 1995, Children of the Corn 3: Urban Harvest came out. What the fuck?
Urban Harvest? Is like Tales from the Hood?
Urban
What does that even
Harvest?
mean?
I don't know what that means.
Sort of a bunch of white kids with blonde
Tales
hair.
from the Hood. Tales from the Hood also came out in 1995.
That movie's awesome. I
Yeah,
love that
Tales from the
movie.
Hood's good.
That
It's got
it was executive produced by Spike Lee. I know that.
like it's got the guy from Half Baked is like the crypt keeper.
Yes.
What's his
Yep.
name?
Friday.
What's his fucking name again?
The what's up guy?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I forget the name.
I don't think it's the What's Up guy.
Oh.
No. I think that's
From,
something Edwards.
Um,
Anthony Edwards. No, that's the guy.
Not
no, I
Anthony
love
Edwards.
Anthony Edwards. Or no,
There's somebody. Anthony
Hold
Anderson.
on,
Anderson,
hold on.
Anderson,
Anthony
yes.
Not
Anderson.
Anthony Anderson.
Okay.
No, it's
Isn't-
not Anthony Anderson. But
Again.
he's a funny guy.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean,
This is not even close to that guy.
Let's see. We'll
This
figure
is
it
some
out.
guy
Williams
named
III.
Anthony
We'll
Edwards.
figure out who this is, and then Sean can clean all this up.
If it'll load. I think it's Clarence Williams III.
no, yeah, him. We were talking.
Okay.
She said the What's Up guy. I was like, I think that's
What's
Anthony
up?
Anderson.
The What's Up guy from the Bud
No,
Light commercials?
that's
Not him.
Marlon Wayans or Sean Wayans.
Yes.
One of the Wayans
That's
brothers.
right.
Yes.
That's right. Well, no, they do it in Scary Movie.
Scary
Yeah,
Movie
What's Up?
3 Anderson is in 'cause he's the hype guy.
That's right. Okay, that's
Okay.
That's
All
where I'm
There's
back.
the
why.
He's the
Yeah,
hype
that's your
guy.
7 degrees of Kevin.
Yes,
Bacon.
Yes.
7 degrees of Tales from the Hood. There we go. Guys, so I came across this movie in researching for this tonight. Never heard of this movie, but listen to this cast, and I'm probably going to watch it. It's called Copycat. It's got Sigourney Weaver, Dermot Mulroney, Holly Hunter, Harry Connick Jr., and Will Patton.
You love
A
some
psychological
Sigourney
Why
thriller.
do I want Harry Connick Jr.?
I mean, he's been in a bunch of stuff. Sigourney Weaver, you had me there. And
Sigourney Weaver,
actually,
yes.
I actually really like Will Patton too. So
Fuck's Will Pat.
Will Patton was one of the coaches, and he's in like everything. He was in Remember the Titans.
Oh, I know who you're talking
yeah,
about.
that guy, Will Patton.
He
like
starts off. He's like the racist coach.
Yeah,
He's like the
right.
racist coach at the
and then
beginning, and then he turns it
yeah.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in like everything. He's
Because
coach in that one movie.
He's like, as a matter of fact, these guys can play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what? My whole outlook on life has changed. I've been wrong this whole time.
We winning now.
Because of football. Oh God. I mean, hey, remember the Titans?
What happened?
That's great Denzel.
Literally
great
what
Denzel
happened in
role.
the movie.
Yep, that pretty much. We also got Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Night, the first of two.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
better
it's the
than
better of the two.
Bordello.
Bordello of Blood. Yeah, this is
Whoa,
this is probably better than Bordello of Blood.
I don't mind that one.
No, I know, but is it better than Bordello?
What's that
That was
guy's
an
name?
actual question.
The fucking guy.
That's
Billy
the guy
Zane?
that's in. No,
no.
he's in.
Joe Dirt.
I feel like he's in Billy Madison too, but he's not. It's not.
No.
No, I'm thinking of somebody
We're
else.
dropping the ball on fucking
Dennis
actors
Miller.
today.
Dennis Miller's
thank
in Bordello of Blood. Yeah. Billy Zane's in Demon Night. I
you. He
think.
is in
Yeah,
Demon
Demon
Night.
Night. We also got
So is Jada Pinkett Smith.
Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers in
Poop,
1995.
dude. The
That's
worst
number-
fucking Halloween movie.
That's number
Dog
6. We also got a sequel to The Howling called The Howling: New Moon Rising, which I've never seen.
Never seen that.
Guys, we got from one John Carpenter, In the Mouth of Madness. I like that one,
Fantastic.
1995. That's a fantastic film. We got Leprechaun 3. Just keep the terrible sequels rolling. We got The Mangler, which directed by Tobe Hooper, based on a Stephen King movie.
Mhm.
Stephen King story about a killer laundry machine.
Doesn't it star Robert Englund?
Robert Englund is in it. Yep, he plays a crazy person. Guys, the highest grossing horror movie of 1995 was Species.
Oh, I wonder why.
Natasha Hendridge and a lot of nudity. It's a recipe for a lot of monies. I already mentioned Tales from the Hood. We got The Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, which was a notable one for starring Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey
Yeah.
in very early film roles for the two of them. I know it's Renee Zellweger. It was a joke.
Yeah,
Not a very good one. Oh,
I used to watch it all the time because it was on Sci-Fi when I was a little kid.
We also got a movie directed by Wes Craven, Vampire in Brooklyn, starring Eddie Murphy as the titular vampire. Anyone seen that? I have not.
No.
You
I didn't
say-
know that was directed by Wes Craven, to be honest.
It was
You
Wes
did,
Craven.
you did say tit too.
Titular.
Titular. Yes, I did say titular.
Teat.
You know, it's kind of fucking wild, and I had this written down just because I was looking at like the Oscars for 1995.
Yes.
So I don't have a list of the other movies from that year in front of me. I'm sure the 90s had great years of movies. The movie came out in 95. This would be the 68th Academy Awards, okay? One of the movies nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor instead of 7 is fucking Babe. The Talking Pig movie.
That
Babe.
movie's fantastic.
Not as good as
Yes.
7.
Not as good as 7, but Babe's a great movie.
No, it isn't.
That's for
Oh
everybody.
my god, it's so
First
good.
off, don't talk to
I'm
me
with him
anymore.
on Babe.
Babe
100%.
rules. Ah,
She be true.
Man, it's a
Babe
good movie.
drove
It's
the
a
wolves
family
away.
friendly
Even when I
movie.
was a little kid, I was like, this movie's bullshit.
Of all the
No.
things for you two to be in agreement on, the fact that it's about
We love pigs.
Yeah.
Piglet.
yeah.
You know what? We just watched a Piglet movie the other day too, and I'm like, this movie sucks, dude. Piglet's a loser.
Maybe you don't
Piglet's
like
big
pigs.
movie.
Yeah, maybe
No,
I
I
don't
don't know
know
what it's called.
Yeah.
All right,
It is
so-
called Piglet's Big Movie.
Is it?
Or something like that.
Yeah, it is.
I always
I
forget
think I
that
took my
this.
niece to see that movie.
I always forget that this happened, but so basically recently expanded Best Picture nomination for the Oscars to 10 movies. So Best Picture winner at this Academy Award show was Braveheart. So obviously, it's a very good movie.
Fantastic.
Also nominated Apollo 13, Babe, Il Postino, The Postman, which is an Italian film, and then Sense and Sensibility. I would say that Seven is better than the majority of those films. Should have
Braveheart's a banger.
Braveheart's a banger.
Yeah.
Babe's good.
Babe is very good.
Babe,
You got 2 against 2, so you got.
Well, I wonder what the
Who's
Rotten
divided?
Tomatoes for Babe is. I'm gonna say
probably
100.
100%.
I bet it's at least
From
98%
both fans and critics.
Mel
Better than
Gibson.
Night Country. that's
Mel
for sure.
Gibson also won Best Director for Braveheart at that award show. Babe, Chris Noonan was not nominated for Best Director. I thought George Miller directed that. Maybe he produced it. Tim Robbins got nominated for Dead Man Walking. Mike Figgis, who directed Leaving Las Vegas, also nominated, and then Michael Radford directed that Italian Postman movie.
Nick Cage won for.
Nick Cage won Best Actor for Leaving Las Vegas.
That movie's very
Didn't
good.
the Postman
Fucked
have
up
Kevin
sad.
Costner?
No, this is Il Postino, The Postman. It's an Italian film. It's not the Kevin Costner one. Yes, Catherine, more about Babe. Go ahead. Yep.
Babe is 97% on Rotten
Well, yeah,
Tomatoes.
obviously. It's
Okay.
fantastic. Mike, little trivia for you. I'm curious if you know this. You probably do know it. How much would you get if you sold your Oscars?
Oh, I don't know that actually.
$1.
Really?
That's how they say you have to give it back. If you can't sell it, you have to give it back to them and they will give you back $1 for it.
Huh, interesting. I'm
Why?
assuming
What
they
if
are.
I sell it to like some random?
You can't sell it. Its value is only $1. So no one would buy it from you because it would only be worth $1 for them.
Oh, so they literally.
I could have just sold it to Mike before you fucking told him that.
So
Have an
yeah,
Oscar.
so they're made of like worthless material. They're not made.
No,
of,
they made
No,
it.
they're
solid
worth
gold.
they're worth a lot more than they sell them for, but they say their value is only $1 for some reason, so that you can't
I'm not
sell them.
understanding this.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm.
They
lost.
do not. I don't know how they don't. So it is weird.
Do the Oscar police come and prevent people from
Maybe
selling?
they
the band
No,
comes in and starts
fucking look
playing.
it up. I don't know why. I don't know how they do it, but maybe someone comes down. Harvey Weinstein shows up and he's like, "You're not selling that for more than $1."
He's like, listen, I'm gonna piss through a straw all over
my
you.
God.
So yeah, he is. He's actually not in prison. He's actually just roaming loose. He's like, "This is your role in life.
Wait,
now. You have to be the police."
What about
of the people
collectors?
selling
The Oscar
statues.
police.
People that are like collecting.
They're
things
basically
from,
telling
like-
you can't sell your.
They're made of
statue.
like solid gold.
They're worth a lot of
they're
money, but
heavy
look it
as
up.
shit.
They're only $1. Their value is only $1.
Okay, I will look it up. I will.
We'll have to figure that
It was the weirdest thing. I was like $1. One whole dollar?
$1?
$1?
God.
Francis Dollarhide?
All right. Well,
Red Dragon.
I don't think that's. I'll have to look into that.
Let's see. This
Look
is
it up.
from KTLA.com. Cast in bronze and finished with gold plating, the award is among the most coveted in the film in the film industry, and the Academy values it at just $1. Of course, the Oscar itself is much more costly to produce. So, who gives a fuck what the Academy values it at? It's what people are willing to pay for it. Is I guess.
If Gary Oldman was like, I'm gonna sell one of my Oscars.
But no, I think
Frankly.
there's something on it. Like
Or
you're not
Daniel
allowed to sell.
Day-Lewis.
If you sell it, like it's like against the law, against the Academy laws.
This award that you've given to me, I'm not allowed to choose what I do with it in the future.
No, I think it says you don't actually own it. Like you don't own that award.
That's true.
Is basically what
So
it
basically,
is.
like if I had to
We can
venture
take
a
it back.
guess,
We can take it back and we'll give you
a lot
Oh.
of these actors are all part of the Academy, right? So
Yeah.
Right.
you probably
The
have to
guild.
abide by
yeah, they're
certain
part of that cult.
stipulations.
They're all demons.
So- This is
Lizard people.
lizard.
each trophy costs over $400 to produce, but
So
it's
a lot.
mandated that any resale requires it to be first offered back to the Academy for $1.
Yeah,
So if you want to sell, you can't.
you can't just sell it. You
Yeah.
have to offer it back.
So like
which
basically,
is
if you
the
were to
weirdest thing I've ever heard of.
So I understand now. So basically, if you were to violate that rule, you probably would be banned from coming to future Oscars type
Probably.
thing.
It's like our fantasy
be
football
sort of-
league. If you were, because you won, to try and
Will
sell
Smith comes up and
the
slaps
trophy,
the
we
shit
have
out
to
of
sell, and
you.
we'd be like, you have to offer that back to us first. You can't just sell the trophy
Right.
because then we're not going to have a
Well-
trophy for next year.
We
Right.
got another one.
well, we need you to slap the
We
shit out
need
of
to
Chris
go-
Rock
we-
again.
Very strange,
We
though,
need you to
right?
just go
Yeah.
slap
Of
Chris
all the
Rock
things
again.
you would never imagine, like they give up this industry worth billions
That
and
was so
billions of
fucked.
dollars, and they're like, you can't give away this $400 award. That's ours, and we want $1 for it. What? It's the
Fucking-
weirdest
They
fucking
got you.
thing.
They got you coming and going, man. Oh God.
Seeing and Jan
All right.
Otherwise, they're gonna stick fucking Baldwin on you. He's gonna shoot you.
or Will Smith.
You want to get slapped or
Yeah.
shot? Which is a big
Yeah.
one.
Or Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, or Harvey
Yeah,
Weinstein.
he on you with his juice box.
Oh my God.
Or R. Kelly.
That's what I heard. I heard he was taking these like ridiculous dick supplements and it made his dick fall off.
That sounds about right. I would imagine a man that probably
He was shooting him into his vein.
committed
and
the
his
acts that he
penis.
committed is probably not.
Well, that
you know,
too. Yeah, he's probably
not
thinking
packing a
about it.
Hogan.
Yeah.
Fucking little fat loser.
piece
Oh,
of shit,
guys.
he does.
All right. Anything else on Se7en?
Harvey No Weinstein.
I mean, this again. I guess I'll
Wiener.
I'll reiterate my earlier point. This is a fucking phenomenal movie. It's a perfect movie or close to perfect. It's
Harvey Giant.
I'm not gonna be able to get these thoughts out.
Harvey
What
Giants.
a pig.
You win. Upset match.
Kat, Matt, Andrew, anything further on Se7en?
No.
No.
We all good?
Thank
All right.
you.
Well,
Match just finished me.
Well, guys,
Finish
always
it.
remember that Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for," and I agree with the second part. And I think that's going to put a little bow on another episode of America's Hometown Horror. This is another fun one tonight. We picked a couple of good movies back to back. This has been a lot of fun these last couple of weeks, going
I like the deep dives.
delving deep into these films. So we're going to continue to
Couple
do
bangers.
that for y'all. Hopefully you guys are liking the new format and going over to our website, to our blog, to check out some of the stuff that we've been watching and recommending for you, dear listener. But anyway, my name is Mike. I've been joined by my co-hosts, Andrew, Kat, and Matt. Lady, gentlemen, say goodbye to your audience.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Goodbye.
Good evening.
Adios.
Hey everyone, it's Mike from America's Hometown Horror, and I want to say thanks again for listening to another episode of our show. If you're interested in more local Plymouth podcasts, I'd highly recommend you check out the shows from our friends over on the Inebriart Podcast Network. In addition to America's Hometown Horror, you can find shows from Inebriart, the Old Colony Cast, Bar Talk, Theme Park Legends, and Retro Redoctopus, so head on over and give them a listen.